All right, so I'd like to start off by introducing myself and my GoEV colleagues. My name is Ariane Erickson, and I am Actera's e-mobility educator. And you were introduced already to my colleague, Linda Hutchins Knowles, and she is the e-mobility and advocacy senior manager. And you also heard from Irvin Rivero. He's our beneficial electrification associate, and he's giving this presentation in the Spanish language room right now. You also heard from Tao. She is an intern with us and she is an EV coach. She'll be presenting tonight's information in Vietnamese in the Vietnamese language room. Joining her will be Dima, and she's another EV coach who's supporting her. And then also in our Spanish language room, we have Esperanza, and she is our Spanish speaking EV coach. And we're very, very fortunate to have these three individuals with us throughout this spring semester. And some of you might be meeting them one-on-one because they will be assisting us in providing our free one-on-one consultations in your preferred language. All right, so a little bit about Actera, if you aren't familiar with us. We are a nonprofit organization that was formed in 1970 during America's first Earth Day. And we are laser focused currently on addressing climate change while advancing equity. We serve the 9-county San Francisco Bay Area. And while we do our online workshops and seminars, we also attract people from throughout the United States and also other countries. So wherever you're from, we're glad that you're here tonight. So the objective of tonight's event is to inspire, inform, and support residents who might be on tight budgets so that everyone can afford an electric vehicle. And just briefly, here's the agenda. We will start with an overview of the benefits of driving EVs, and then we will take a deep dive into the many incentives that help make EVs affordable. And then at the very end, we'll conduct a short survey, and that is going to be your opportunity to give us feedback and also sign up for a free follow-up consultation. So it's really important that you take this survey. We really appreciate it. For your efforts, we'll be having a drawing where we'll offer some Target gift cards to the lucky winners. So it's a win-win-win if you take the survey at the very end. Okay. I want to also thank our promotional partner, Nuestra Casa, and they've been instrumental in doing outreach to the Spanish-speaking community. So we have a really healthy attendance in our Spanish language room tonight. I also want to introduce and thank our sponsors. So Peninsula Clean Energy is San Mateo County's official electricity provider. By providing cleaner energy at lower rates, Peninsula Clean Energy is an essential part of the fight against climate change in our communities. Peninsula Clean Energy provides one of our region's most generous grant programs for income qualifying individuals who live in San Mateo County and Los Banos. And those are grant programs that we will discuss because they are specifically for purchasing used EVs. We will learn about these programs a little bit later in our presentation. I also want to introduce and thank the City of Palo Alto Utilities. They are our other co-presenting sponsor, and they have been a longtime partner of Actera, and we are super grateful for their ongoing support. And finally, San Jose Clean Energy has generously agreed to be our Vietnamese language sponsor, which allows us for the first time to provide this valuable content to Vietnamese-speaking residents. And I think somebody might have their microphone on. It might be, let's see, I'm just quickly looking through here. If you have your microphone on, if you could mute yourself, that would be super because I'm hearing a little bit of feedback. Thank you. All right, so just a couple of minutes to share about San Jose Clean Energy. So just like Peninsula Clean Energy, San Jose Clean Energy is a community choice energy provider, which means that they contract for electricity mostly from renewable sources. So then PG&E delivers this electricity to San Jose Clean Energy's customers throughout San Jose. And San Jose Clean Energy's customers save from 1% to 3% off of the cost of electricity compared to PG&E. and those with low income save an extra 10%. So San Jose Clean Energy is dedicated to helping their customers improve energy efficiency, access solar energy, and access charging for electric vehicles. They have a program that offers up to 70% off of energy efficient refrigerators, washers, and dryers, and they also provide free smart thermostats. So this program is open to San Jose residents of single-family homes who either meet certain income requirements or if you live in certain neighborhoods. So hopefully Sonia is able to put a link in the chat to this program. Next, I would like to reintroduce Hiromi Kelty with the City of Palo Alto Utilities, who's going to say a few words about the city's programs. Hiromi?
Hi, everyone, and thanks for taking the time to join us tonight. I'm not sure if the participant number I'm seeing here, 45, is just for this breakout room, but if that's the case, I can't wait to see what the total numbers are. I mean, to me, this is really showing that we have hit the tipping point. And I think all of you are here tonight because you were thinking your next vehicle, you'd like to go electric. Personally, I am on my third EV. I've been a longtime EV driver. There have been times when I was nervous, like in the snowstorm a few weeks ago, whether I'd have enough charge to get to my destination. But overall, it's been an amazing experience, and I don't think I can ever go back. I am the manager for our utility program services group, overseeing commercial programs. We also have many residential programs. We have the most aggressive carbon reduction goals of anywhere in the country. And we are trying really hard to get there. 65% of Palo Alto's emissions, greenhouse gas emissions, are coming from road transportation. And if we don't reduce that, we are not going to be able to achieve our goals or even come close to achieving our goals for carbon reduction. What I wanted to point out here are some interesting statistics in that EV adoption has grown tremendously over recent years. Every year it keeps jumping up. I mean, last year, it wasn't as high as I think it would have been just because of supply chain issues, and there were just no cars available to buy, or they were a lot more expensive than they should be. But in Palo Alto, 1 in 5 of your neighbors already drives an EV, and that trend is going to continue. So thank you for joining us tonight. Next slide. So this is not the only event that we are, sponsoring / hosting. We work with a number of consultants or partners such as Actera. These events here all happen to be Actera events that we will be hosting. And so if you're interested, go to our workshops page, cityofpaloalto.org/workshops. But we have like this e-bikes in the park, which we did last year, which was a huge success because it's not just about switching our cars, but just rethinking the way we transport ourselves from point A to B. We had a farmers market event at Halloween. My colleague Connie is on the call tonight, and she was there. And I think it was like 300 attendees. It was extremely popular. We even had Ariane managed to get the Ford 150E that people are all talking about, that very few of us have actually seen in the wild. And there was one of those at the event as well. There will be more financial incentives clinics. I think we're planning on trying this in other languages as well. And then there's the one coming up in a couple weeks, really focusing on some of the new models that we can all look forward to. Next slide. So, we don't have rebates for individuals to buy EVs, mainly because there's so many ways that we could spend our limited funds, and we're hoping, the federal government's incentives are quite good. And thank you to the IRA a lot of those have been reinstated. But what we do offer is, a lot of our customers live in multifamily. 42% of our customers live in multifamily homes. And we offer the most generous rebates to help multifamily customers install EV chargers on site, because the number one thing people say is, oh, I don't have access to charging. Well, we have a solution for that. And we also offer end-to-end technical assistance, which is free to these property owners. So if you're interested, you could just call this number and say, I live in an apartment. I'd really like to see EV chargers, and our EV advisor will help you get on your way to getting your building to install EV chargers. Thank you.
Thanks, Hiromi. All right, so now let's dive into some of the benefits of electric vehicles, starting with some definitions. You're all familiar with this image on the screen right now. This is an image of a gas burning vehicle. It has a combustion engine. It has a fuel tank. You put fuel in there, it combusts it, and it propels your car forward. And you also see that there's smog, there's pollution that comes out of the tailpipe of that gas-powered car. So what happens when we add those green components to one of these gas-powered cars? Well, what you get is a hybrid vehicle. The Toyota Prius is a really good example of a hybrid vehicle. There's a lot of hybrid vehicles out on the road right now, and they operate by burning their fuel, but they also have a small rechargeable battery that's added to the mix, and the battery sometimes kicks in to propel the car, and the car chooses when it uses gas and when it uses its battery, and it doesn't need any external power source in order to recharge the battery. It's small enough that the engine can actually do the recharging of the battery. All right, now conversely, newer vehicles have come along, and they're called plug-in hybrids. And a plug-in hybrid has a larger rechargeable battery. And because it's larger than a regular conventional hybrid car, it does need an external power source in order to recharge its battery. That's why it's called a plug-in hybrid. And you'll see that it still has a gas tank, and it still uses gas along with electricity in order to move. But the advantage of a plug-in hybrid over a conventional hybrid is that the driver actually has control over when the vehicle uses electricity versus when it uses gas. So if you have a plug-in hybrid, you can actually choose to run your car on electricity the entire time. You don't ever have to use the gas as long as you keep the battery charged. So now let's take away the red components, and we're just left with the green components. And you can see now on this image, the battery is even larger, and the engine is gone and the gas tank is gone. This is what's called a 100% battery electric vehicle. And you can see now that this vehicle doesn't have a tailpipe, and so no pollution is coming out of this vehicle because it runs 100% on electricity. So those are the different types of vehicles, and the question that you might want to ask yourself if you're considering going EV is, should I get a 100% electric or should I get a plug-in hybrid? So some of the questions that you want to ask yourself in order to make this decision are, do I have an outlet in my garage or parking spot that I can use to charge my EV? Or does my workplace provide EV charging? Another question you want to ask yourself is, do I drive less than 100 miles per day? So if both of those answers are yes, then a 100% electric vehicle should meet your needs. So what are the benefits of driving electric? The first one is pretty obvious: cleaner air, and healthier communities. So let's go back to a gas-powered car and all the pollution that's coming out of its tailpipe. You can see from this image that it spews out things like carbon monoxide and particulate matter and nitrogen oxides, and all of these elements are harmful to humans, they're harmful to animals, they're harmful to buildings. We all know that these pollutants cause health issues, including stroke and heart disease, lung cancer, asthma, and other respiratory illnesses. And young children and the elderly are particularly susceptible to air pollution caused by gas-powered vehicles. So as I mentioned, conversely, electric vehicles have no tailpipes. And so no pollution comes out of their tailpipe, only little sparkly stars. So just imagine if everyone drove an electric vehicle, we could experience clean air and blue skies on a regular basis and drastically reduce air pollution and its harmful effects on our health. And that's our goal. So another reason that Actera is promoting clean vehicles is in order to ensure a safer and more stable climate. As I mentioned, we're laser focused on climate change, and we believe that electric vehicles can drastically reduce the harmful effects of climate change, both in our community and around the world. So this is a pie chart of California's carbon emissions from 2020. And the main thing to note about this chart is that you'll see that big blue section of the pie. You'll see that 38% of California's carbon emissions comes from the transportation sector, and 80% of the transportation sector is passenger vehicles. So in order to reduce the size of that slice of pie, we must convert to electric vehicles. And Actera feels that this is a priority. It's really one of the biggest things that any individual can do to reduce their own individual carbon footprint. So Actera feels that this is a huge benefit of going EV, but there are many other benefits. One of the big benefits is cost savings and also carpool lane access. So let's talk about that. So there are 3 ways that you will save money once you make the switch to an EV. First of all, electric vehicles cost less to fuel. Electricity is actually a third the price of gas, and that is if you power your car, if you charge it at home using your electricity provider. There was a study that found out that the average EV driver in California saves around $800 to $1,000 a year in fuel costs. So that's pretty big savings. Another way that you can save by owning an EV is that EVs cost less to maintain. I always like to give this fact that EVs have 10 times fewer moving pieces underneath the hood. So when you own an EV, you don't have to fix or replace any of the things that are on this slide. You don't have to have oil changes, and you don't have to replace timing belts or spark plugs. Or you don't have to get a biannual smog check. EVs don't have catalytic converters. They don't have water pumps, radiators, radiator hoses, mufflers. They have far few moving pieces underneath the hood. And so that's far few moving pieces that are going to break or need to be maintained. So Consumer Reports did a study, and they actually found out that over the course of your vehicle ownership, if you own a gas-powered car, you'll spend approximately $9,000 on maintenance during its lifetime. But if you own an electric vehicle, you're going to spend about half that amount over the lifetime of the vehicle. All right, next, let's talk about these carpool benefits. Some people go EV simply for this benefit alone. This is a benefit for Californians. And you'll see, I love this slide because it has this car driving in the carpool lane versus the traffic jam on the left-hand side of the screen. And that's because this vehicle has a clean air vehicle sticker, and it's a sticker that you can apply for if you have an electric vehicle or a plug-in hybrid. And what you do is you apply for the sticker, you put it on the car, and you can actually drive as a single occupant in the carpool lane during rush hour. Now, you'll notice that the Peninsula has started to have some express lanes installed. Now, you can't drive for free in the express lanes, but when you have your clean air vehicle decal, you get to drive in the express lanes for half off. And just really quickly, it's important to know that if you buy a used electric vehicle, and if the carpool lane sticker is important to you, you want to make sure that the sticker is still valid, because they all have an expiration date. They're all good for up to 4 years when you first get the sticker. So if you're buying a used EV, you really want this carpool lane sticker, you're going to want to make sure that it's still valid. The stickers that I am showing on the right-hand side of the screen are expired, and the large stickers on the left-hand side of the screen are still valid. Now, if you income qualify, and I will show you a chart pretty soon that can help you determine if you are an income qualifying EV owner. You might be eligible when you purchase your used EV, if it has an expired sticker, you might be eligible for an extension. So let's talk about finally in terms of cost saving. EV owners also save money when you cross Bay Area bridges during rush hour. So you get half off basically. Most people will pay $7 when you cross a bridge during rush hour. And as an EV owner with your sticker, and you have to have a fast track tag, by the way, you'll only pay $3.50. There's no discount for the Golden Gate Bridge, but all the other bridges are discounted. Okay, so those are the financial benefits. We're going to talk about rebates and grants towards purchasing EVs in just a moment. But one more benefit that we need to talk about is that EVs are simply more fun to drive, and they are easy to charge. They are actually more convenient to fuel than a gas-powered car, and I'll show you why shortly. So Actera likes to say that you really have to get inside one of these vehicles and drive one for yourself in order to experience just how fun they are to drive. So why are they fun to drive? Well, they have great acceleration, and that's because they have instant torque, and that's because they're electric. And so the power goes right to the wheels. There's no delay like you have in a gas burning car. Also, there's no vibration because it's electric, so they have a very smooth and a very quiet ride. If you can, test drive an EV, go to a local dealer, ask a friend who has an EV if you can get behind the wheel and take it for a spin, and you will be sold. All right, so let's take just a moment to talk about charging, because oftentimes people are a little bit nervous when making the switch to an EV. They think, well, it's a different fueling paradigm. And so, people get nervous and they wonder how to charge their car, and is it convenient, and where do I charge it, and how much does it cost, and what about range anxiety? So hopefully, I can summarize and address all of those concerns on this slide right here by talking about how to charge your car. This is a very brief overview. We also do have a workshop that's dedicated solely to EV charging. And so we offer that as well if you want to take a deep dive into how to charge your car. But in brief, charging your electric vehicle is very convenient if you have access to an outlet in your garage or at your place of residence. And if you do, you can actually start charging your car the moment you bring it home. Your EV will come with a charger cord, like what you see here on the left-hand side of the screen. And all you do to charge your car is plug one end of the cord into the port of your vehicle and the other end into the outlet. So basically, anywhere you can find a three-pronged outlet, you can charge an electric vehicle. Now, this charge is very slow. Some people call it trickle charging, but it's fine for individuals that don't have long commutes. The way you charge your car, if you're charging it at home, is the same way that you charge your cell phone. You basically do it at night. You plug it in to the outlet, and in the morning, when you need to use the car, it will have gained anywhere from 30 to 45 miles of range. And that is sufficient for most people. The average commute in the Bay Area is about 20 miles per day. However, if you would like to charge your car faster, you could invest in a level 2 charger that you could install in your garage. And that will charge your car. It will give you about 25 miles of charge per hour. So it is a lot faster. It will generally fuel your car from 0 to full in anywhere from 5 to 8 hours. You can also access level 2 charging out in the public. They have level 2 charging stations that are available everywhere throughout Palo Alto, throughout Peninsula Clean Energy's service territory, and throughout California in general, because California is really a leader in terms of availability of charging stations. And the third level of charge is called DC fast charging. And those are only available publicly because they're very powerful and they take high voltage electricity. And so you can only access them via public charging stations. And these are usually located just off of freeways because usually you'll use this fast charging system when you're taking road trips. And these chargers will give you anywhere from 130 to 200 or even more miles per hour of charge. You'll see on the right-hand side, that's a Tesla supercharger. They have their own fast charging network. But if you don't have a Tesla, you can use other service providers. So I do want to address what happens, how do you charge your vehicle if you live in an apartment? It's a little bit more challenging, but there are more and more options that are becoming available. As Hiromi mentioned, the city of Palo Alto has a very generous grant program for building owners, landlords who are interested in offering charging to their residents. So there's a few other options. A very low cost option would be for the landlord to install what's called a smart outlet. If there happens to be outlets in the parking garage or in the carport, the landlord can install a smart outlet, and that enables each resident to create an account and then plug their car into that outlet and then be charged only for the amount of electricity that they use when they are charging their vehicle. Another potential solution for people who live in multi-family dwellings is what we like to call concierge services. And we know of one that's in operation right now, and it's called Currently. And basically, they have mobile EV charging units that they will bring to you. And it's a subscription service. You pay for it monthly, and they bring the charger to you. And if anyone has used this option or is going to try it out in the future, we really would like to know what your experience is. So please let us know if this becomes a viable option for you. All right, I'm going to touch really briefly on the best times to charge your vehicle, well, where you will pay the lowest rates, and also the time that is the most beneficial for the environment. PG&E they've transitioned to time of use pricing. So the time of use pricing encourages people to power down or to use less electricity between the hours of 4 to 9 p.m. So those are the hours that you're going to want to avoid, because this is when power from solar energy declines, and it's kind of before wind power ramps up in the late evening hours. And so PG&E wants to avoid having to fire up its peaker plants that are usually gas powered during that time frame. And so they charge more for you to use electricity during this time, including charging your car. The cheapest time to charge your vehicle is between 12 a.m. and then all the way up until 4 p.m. So overnight, basically. And that's when you will have cheaper rates, and you'll also be helping PG&E stick to providing your electricity using more renewable energy. All right. So before we dive into the rebates, I want to talk very briefly about the state of the market, because it's important. If you've been researching purchasing an electric vehicle or any vehicle right now, you might have noticed that that vehicles of all types are kind of in short supply right now, and a lot of factors went into this supply chain problem. It started with COVID, and that produced a semiconductor chip shortage, and there's a lot of semiconductor chips in vehicles these days, and a lot of other supply chain shortages that really kind of disrupted the automobile manufacturing industry, kind of turned it on its head. At the same time that individuals were becoming more interested in going EV. So the demand is really high right now, and the supply for the last couple of years has not been able to meet the demand. And so what has happened is it's been hard to find EVs. It's been hard to find gas powered cars as well, but EVs in particular. And so as a result, dealers have been marking up their cars because they can. They can afford to get more money on each EV that they sell. So there are markups out there on cars, and they're anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000. As of last month, one of the more popular EVs, the Chevy Bolt, I noticed had a markup of about $2,000 in local dealerships. So, and then the really popular cars, such as the Hyundai Ioniq 5, they have a markup of anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000. So that's the bad news, is that markups, you're probably going to run into markups, at least right now and into the foreseeable future. They do think that supply is gradually increasing, and that maybe by the end of this year, there will be more EVs to meet the demand, and hopefully the markups will go down by the end of this year. But I don't have a crystal ball, so nobody knows for certain how things are going to play out. All right, but the good news is that you can still make your next car electric. It's just going to take a little bit more patience and resourcefulness. So let's talk about the financial incentives that are going to help bring down the cost of your EV. Let's start with credits and rebates for new car purchases, okay? So if you are considering purchasing a new EV, we're going to start with the new clean vehicle credit. And this used to be called the federal tax credit. This is the big credit that you can take off of your taxes if you purchase a new electric vehicle. They changed the name, and there's been some big changes that kicked in, first of all, in August, and now again as of January 1st. This credit now, the eligibility requirements are now a little bit complicated. So I'm just going to give you an overview and provide you with links if you really want to drill down into the details. So the basics. You can claim this credit off of your taxes the year following the purchase of your EV. So if you purchase a brand new electric vehicle today, when you do your taxes next year, you will be able to claim up to $7,500 off the taxes that you pay next year. Now, this credit can only reduce your taxes to zero. So it's important to consider if this is actually going to benefit you, because if you pay very little taxes or if you don't pay taxes, this credit is actually not going to be useful to you. So that's something very important for you to consider, is if you actually can take advantage of this tax credit. The good news is that starting in 2024, this tax credit will be able to be taken off the purchase price of the vehicle. So it's still a tax credit, but you'll be able to get it as a discount right at the point of sale. So something to consider in helping you decide whether or not to buy an EV now or maybe on January 1st of 2024. All right. There are a few limitations on being able to claim this credit. There's some income limitations. So if you make more than $150,000 a year as a single filer, you will not be able to claim the credit. Another big criteria that just took effect recently is that the electric vehicle must be made in North America. So that actually disqualifies a lot of cars. But I'm going to show you a list of the vehicles that do qualify in a moment. There's also a price limitation. So the fancier, more expensive EVs are not going to be eligible for this tax credit. The EV that you purchase cannot cost more than $55,000 if it's classified as a car, and it can't cost more than $80,000 if it's classified as an SUV or a van or a truck. All right, let's see here. There we go. So to make things even more complicated, the rules that are in effect right now are actually going to change in March. And that's because the IRS and the US Treasury are tasked with the job of determining whether the EV in question, where its batteries are sourced and where the batteries are assembled. It's kind of a new, it's a new rule that has kicked in order to make the EV eligible for the tax credit. And that is to kind of get the supply chain moved back stateside and produce more jobs here in America and have batteries produced here. But this is a really hard thing to determine. And so the IRS has said, we're not actually implementing this particular rule until we kind of have been able to identify where all these EV batteries are sourced. And so that rule has not kicked in yet. They say that this particular rule will probably go into effect in March, but that's a big question mark in and of itself. So for the time being, let's see, it's the end of January. So for about a month, a little over a month, we can confidently say that the vehicles on the left side of this screen are eligible for the full tax credit. as long as those other criteria are met. And this is exciting to me anyway, because previously the Chevy Bolt did not qualify for the tax credit under the old rules. And now there's this window of opportunity for the Chevrolet Bolt for people who buy a Bolt and take delivery between now and the end of next month to qualify for that full tax credit. The Nissan Leaf, the VW ID4, the Ford Mustang Mach-E, and the Ford F-150 Lightning. They are other cars that meet the North America manufacturing criteria and that also meet the price criteria. So these vehicles right now are eligible for the full $7,500 tax credit. When the IRS implements these additional rules for the battery assembly requirements, we are predicting, we don't know for sure, but we're predicting that most of these vehicles will no longer qualify for the full tax credit. And if they do, they will probably only qualify for half of it, which is $3,750. Now, we don't know, because we don't know where the batteries are assembled, but this is an educated guess that we're making. So it's a really wonderful window of opportunity if you happen to be interested in any of these vehicles. The vehicles that are on the right-hand side of this slide, the Rivians, the Tesla Model 3, and certain variants of the Model Y, they might qualify as well. If they meet those the price guidelines. So some Tesla Model Ys are not going to qualify because they're way over $80,000, especially if you go autopilot and do some of the other upgrades. But there are some Tesla Model Ys that appear as though they could fall under that $80,000 price tag, especially the 7-seat variants. And it also appears that some base level Tesla Model 3s qualify. And Tesla under the old rules didn't qualify anymore for the tax credit. So again, a really great window for the Tesla. Same thing with the Rivian. If it's under $80,000, it will qualify for this next month. So everything will change in March. So for now, go for it. If you can take delivery and get that car in your hands. It won't work if you order a car and it's not delivered until later this year. You actually have to take delivery before these new battery requirements kick in. Okay, so now let's talk about what I'm calling the leasing loophole. And this is really a great thing. It just depends upon if the manufacturers are going to play along, shall we say. So if you lease an EV instead of purchasing a new EV, you might be able to get some or all of this new clean vehicle credit. And that's because the IRS has recently, with these new rules, they've clarified that dealers can claim the commercial clean vehicle credit for electric vehicles that they lease to their customers. And this is big news because this commercial credit, it's the commercial version of this credit. It doesn't have all of these other restrictions that the other credit has. So there's no income restrictions, there's no price restrictions. And so basically, any electric vehicle on the market today can qualify for this credit if the dealer chooses to transfer some or all of it to you, the person who's leasing it. And that's a big if. Because when you lease a car, it's actually the manufacturer's financing arm that actually purchases the EV. They get to claim the commercial credit, and it's up to them if they want to pass along some or all of the credit to you, the person who's leasing. It remains to be seen if they are willing to do this, but it is a potential loophole for getting the tax credit. Okay, let's talk about the California credit for electric vehicles. It's called the Clean Vehicle Rebate. Once you purchase your car, your new EV, what you do is you go to their website and you fill out an application. And if this is the first time that you've submitted the application, you get one of these per individual. If you purchased a plug-in hybrid, they'll send you a check in the mail for $1,000. And if you purchase a 100% EV, they will send you a check in the mail for $2,000. It's fantastic. Easy form to fill out, and you get a rebate pretty quickly in the mail. You don't have to wait to file your taxes. Even better, I mentioned that I would show a chart where you could look at and see if you might be considered an income qualifying individual. And so this chart, I'm going to be showing it in future slides because most of the programs that I'm talking about adhere to these income thresholds to determine whether or not you are an income qualifying resident. So for the California rebate, if you, for example, are a household size of 4 and if your adjusted gross income is less than $111,000 per year, the state of California will give you an additional $2,500 rebate for a total of $4,500 that comes as a check in the mail after you purchase your car. Briefly, I'm going to show you an example of a vehicle that takes advantage of these rebates and credits. This is a new 2022 Nissan Leaf. Original price $35,400. If you apply both the clean vehicle credit and the California state rebate and your income qualifying, you can bring down the cost of that vehicle to $23,400. All right, let's talk about credits and rebates for used electric vehicles. I mentioned this federal tax credit for new EVs. Well, guess what? Starting January 1st, they created an EV tax credit for used EVs. And this is fantastic. This is brand new. And for the first time, you can actually claim up to $4,000 off of your taxes if you purchase used. We think it's fantastic. Now, once again, if you pay very little taxes or no taxes, it's hard to claim this. It's hard to take advantage of this. So again, starting in 2024, the buyer is going to be able to claim this credit at the point of sale. So it acts as a direct discount on the vehicle. Something to keep in mind if you really don't pay taxes and really can't take advantage of this as a tax credit. You might want to wait until 2024, where it becomes a discount at the point of purchase. Okay. This is a program that is coming soon from PG&E. We don't know when, but we know it's coming soon. If you're a PG&E customer, you're going to be able to get a rebate check of $1,000 for a plug-in hybrid or a 100% electric vehicle. And if you are income qualified, based on the chart from my last slide, they will send you a check for $4,000. This is off the price of a used electric vehicle. We're very excited about this program that is coming soon. Okay, for those of you who are San Mateo County residents or residents of Los Banos, Peninsula Clean Energy has a very generous grant program that you can apply towards the purchase of a used EV. And so now I'm going to ask Vanessa from Peninsula Clean Energy to provide us with details about this program. Vanessa.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ariane. So great to see all of you here and your interest. And I'm learning so much about all of the new tax credits and new information. So thank you, Ariana, and the Actera team for always being so on top of it. So again, hello, my name is Vanessa. I'm here to share a little bit of information about a rebate for used electric vehicles offered to residents of San Mateo County and the city of Los Banos. And just to begin, I'll say a little bit more about Peninsula Clean Energy. We are a public agency that provides clean energy at lower rates. It's an automatic benefit of living in San Mateo or the city of Los Banos. So if you do live in any of those areas, you likely already receive us. You're receiving electricity from clean sources, and it's being delivered to you by PG&E's poles and wires. And what we also do is we help our customers unlock additional savings through various programs and rebates, including the used EV rebate. So next slide, please. So first, I'd like to again remind folks that this is for residents of San Mateo County or the city of Los Banos. And I also want you to take a look at this income chart here. It should look familiar. It's the same one that Ariane had on previous slides. And I would like you to just take a note if your income falls within these thresholds, because it'll be applicable for our next slide. Okay, great. And so all residents of San Mateo County or the city of Los Banos can receive a rebate for a used electric vehicle. So if you want to look on the right side of the slide, this is for all residents. So you can receive a used plug-in hybrid rebate of $700 and a rebate of up to $1,000 for a 100% electric vehicle. And then if you look on the left side of the column, if you qualified based on your income on the chart from the previous slide, you can receive even more benefits and even more rebates. And so if you did fall within those income thresholds, you can get up to $5,700 for a used plug-in hybrid and up to $6,000 for a used fully electric EV. And so in a few slides, we'll show how this can stack with other state incentives. And I also wanted to note that in order to receive the rebate, you'll need to pre-apply on our website. And so we'll put a link to the chat there. And yeah, look forward to answering any questions. And thank you all for your participation.
Thank you, Vanessa. All right, so the rebates that we've discussed previously apply to individuals who are income qualifying or not. Now let's talk about special grants or free money for specifically individuals who do income qualify. So the big one is called the Clean Cars for All program. For this program, it does require that you have an older car that you're willing to turn in. So it has to be year 2005 or older, and you turn it in, it would be dismantled. You also need to fall into the income guidelines that are on the next slide. And finally, you have to live in what they consider an environmentally disadvantaged community, a community that is exposed to a higher level of pollution. So if you meet all of these requirements, including falling within this income threshold, which we have shown you on previous slides, you could actually be eligible to receive anywhere between $5,500 and $9,500 for turning in your gas-guzzling, old polluting car and applying that money towards the purchase of a brand new or used electric vehicle. So as Vanessa mentioned, let's show you a quick example of how to stack some of these incentives. This is a 2019 Chevy Bolt. Original sales price, because it's used, was $24,000. If you qualify for the maximum amount of the Clean Cars for All program, if you have an older vehicle that you're willing to turn in, and if you qualify for the Peninsula Clean Energy Grant, and you know what, there's a typo there. It should actually be a $6,000 grant from Peninsula Clean Energy. So the price after the grants would actually be only $8,740. It's amazing savings if you're able to stack. Clean Cars for All also offers, as an alternative, a grant for if you actually want to purchase an e-bike instead of an electric vehicle. And so that's a very generous grant to apply towards the purchase of an electric bicycle. And if you live in Contra Costa County, there's also a program that would give you between $150 and $300 off the purchase of an e-bike. So let's talk about our residents who live in Marin County and certain cities in Contra Costa and certain cities in Napa and Solano. If you live in a city that's on this list, you might be eligible for a grant from MCE, and they are Marin County's clean energy service provider. Again, you do have to income qualify, so your income has to be below these thresholds. And if they are, you can apply for a grant that will give you up to $3,500 towards the cost of a new electric vehicle. Not used, new. An important caveat with this grant is that it's going to be restructured. And it will change sometime over the summer from providing grants for new EVs, and instead it will become a grant for used EVs. So they will temporarily stop taking applications on March 1st, and they'll reopen applications later this year, and it will be for used EVs. All right, we are in the home stretch. We want to talk about the timing of your EV purchase because it's important for you to follow the steps in the correct order in order to get these rebates and grants. It's important basically that you don't go out there and buy your car and then apply for some of these grants, because some of them, such as Peninsula Clean Energy, ask that you submit the application first. So before you buy the car, you'll need to apply to any of the income-based grants that we discussed. And you have to give yourself between 3 and 6 months for your application to be processed and approved. So keep that in mind. After you purchase the car is when you apply for the California state rebate and your carpool stickers. And as you recall, it's not until you file your next year's taxes that you can apply for the clean vehicle credit. If all of this was way too much information, and it probably was, and you want help deciding what's best for you, Actera is very happy to provide you, anyone who has attended this clinic, with a free follow-up consultation. They're half an hour and they're online, and you sign up by filling out the survey at the end of this presentation. Okay, we wanted to give a brief testimonial from someone that has participated in this program. This woman's name is Henrietta, and she actually turned in an old gas guzzling car through the Clean Cars for All program, and she was able to purchase a used Chevy Bolt in Cajun red, and she loves it. And as we're winding down, I did want to mention some advocacy work that Actera is doing, because we realize that that the switch to clean vehicles is only going to be equitable if everyone gets access to charging. So to that end, Actera is helping lead a coalition called EV Charging for All. And what this coalition does is it urges the state of California and also Bay Area cities to require that each new apartment and condo unit that is built has EV-ready charging. And that is so that individuals who live in apartment complexes have the same access to electric vehicle charging at home as single-family residents do. So if this is a cause that is important to you, if you live in an apartment or a condo, or if you're just passionate about expanding EV access in multifamily housing, we would love it if you would fill out an interest form that we can put into the chat and help us champion EV access for all. Okay, we're at the end. This is the part where we're going to ask you to fill out our survey. This is the time when, if you do that, you'll be entered in our drawing and you could win a $50 Target gift card. This is the chance for you to tell us how it went for you. If the information that we provided was helpful, it's your opportunity to sign up for a consultation. And so Sonia will be putting 2 links into the chat, actually 1 link. It's a bit.ly, it's kind of a shortened link. And that will take you to the survey. And if for some reason you're not able to access the survey right now, we will also be sending out an email to everyone who attended with the link to the survey so that you could fill it out after this workshop. But hopefully Sonia has been able to put the link in. Let's see, or actually, you know what? I can also type it in as well. So let's see here. Doing that right now. Oh, hold on. This survey. Okay, I don't have the correct link. What is today's date? January 25 survey. I think this is it, but I'm not entirely sure. So forgive me if this is not the right link. We will definitely send it out afterwards. Okay. So now is so it's 8:10. And I do want to give individuals the chance to ask questions, although I do want to respect your time. And so this is the end of all the information that we have to present to you. So if you are wanting to leave our meeting and leave the workshop, you're certainly welcome to do so. Before you do, I want to thank again the sponsors that have made this presentation possible. We can't do it without our sponsors. So once again, thank you to Peninsula Clean Energy. Thank you to the City of Palo Alto Utilities and to San Jose Clean Energy. And you are free now to leave our meeting. But I would also like to just give anyone a few extra minutes. And what I'll do is I'm going to stop sharing now. And if you have additional questions that weren't answered in the chat, and if you want to turn on your camera and turn on your microphone and ask me a question, and Vanessa is here, Hiromi is here, and Sonia is also still available, and we'll do our best to answer any remaining questions for those of you who want to stay. Wendy.
Hi, thank you for this. I missed some of it, but my main question, I think I would be getting a used EV, or what is that acronym for a hybrid that you can plug in?
So the acronym for plug-in hybrid vehicle is PHEV.
PHEV, okay. So my question is, to get any of these rebates with a used vehicle, do you have to buy from a dealer?
Yeah. Good question. And the answer is yes, because the dealers know how to process the paperwork, because they give you the discount off of the EV when they sell it to you. And then they in turn have to do the paperwork to get that money back from the grantor. So yes, it does have to go through a dealer. That's a really good question.
Okay. And do you have any, I mean, I don't know if you're willing to say this, any dealers that you're willing to recommend? I live in Berkeley. Yeah. And also about leasing, any leasers that you would recommend?
Yeah, leasing is tricky. I really can't recommend any dealers in terms of leasing. And I don't even know what the situation is right now. It used to be that Nissan and Chevrolet were passing through the federal tax credit. And when COVID happened and the supply chain shortage, they stopped doing it. But there's a potential that because of this little loophole, they might start doing it again. But there's a website that I can send out afterwards, where you can look up to see if any of the manufacturers are passing through the tax credit. And so I'm happy to do that. So in terms of dealers for used EVs, there are a few in this area that actually specialize in selling used electric vehicles. Again, we can provide that information in the follow-up email, which we'll be sending everybody. But off the top of my head, the two that stand out the most are Greenlight Auto Wholesale in Daly City and Rose Motors in the East Bay near you. And again, we can send out, there's a short list of dealers that we have, but those are the two ones that really specialize in used electric vehicles. All right, let's see. Hiromi, did you have a comment? Your hand is up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, there were so many great questions in the chat, and, people were so engaged, and I'm hoping we could capture that in some kind of a like Q&A list, or that people can refer to, or in your follow-up email. I think that would be great. I mean, I think the questions were great, the answers were great. So thank you everyone for your engagement.
Okay, that's fantastic. I think when we're recording, I think that the chat gets recorded as well. And if it does, then we can have access to that and share access to that. Thanks, Hiromi. Let's see, Mary? Mary, did you have a question?
Yeah, hi.
And then Girish, I'll take you after Mary, okay?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I have a question about the whether or not you pay taxes.
Yeah.
So I pay taxes, obviously but I have been getting refunds over the past few years. So is the fact that I don't owe taxes at the end of my filing going to disqualify me for that rebate?
Right. That's a great question. So it's actually the amount of taxes that you pay over the whole course of the year. It's not what you owe at the end.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect.
So, right. If they're taking taxes out of your paycheck,
Yes.
then let's say when the whole year is done, they've taken taxes out of your paycheck and they've taken $10,000 out of your paycheck. And so, but you only end up owing $8,000. So you're supposed to get a refund of $2,000. I hope I'm not going to make this math too complicated.
Yeah.
But if you see where I'm going,
Yes.
you actually would qualify for that for the full $7,500, and you would only end up paying $500 total. I don't know if
Okay.
that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, Girish.
Hi, thanks for presenting all the data. This was awesome.
Okay.
Kudos to you and your team putting a great presentations. Thank you. The question I have, you mentioned a very good point. Starting 1st January 2024, the credit will be provided by, or the discount will be provided by dealer.
Yeah.
Currently, there is a lot of criteria. Income is one of the major one in order to get a credit. So when it goes a credit to a discount mode in 2024, will the income category be applicable?
That's a really good question. Yes. As much as I know, you're still not, you still can't make over that income threshold. And so they're going to have to figure that part out. I don't know how they're going to do it. But as far as I know, that income qualification is still going to apply as of January 1 in 2024.
Okay, and assuming that you will be able to share these presentations and the recording online after this one?
Yes.
Thank you. Kudos
Yeah.
to your team. Appreciate that. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. You too. Let's see. I have someone iPhone.
Oh, I apologize. It's Yvonne.
Eva.
Yeah, when I checked in, it automatically took iPhone instead of my name.
No worries.
So I have a question. My county is Mendocino County, and I do not see any programs, special rebate programs for Mendocino.
Yeah, I'm not aware of programs in Mendocino, but we can send you links to what I call rebate finders. And you can plug in your zip code and your situation, and it will pull up a list of rebates that are applicable to your area. And I can do that afterwards.
That would be great. Are
Yeah.
you sending a mass email out, or do I?
Yes, I'm
expect to be
sending.
special?
sending a follow-up email to everyone who registered for the event.
Wonderful. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, well, it's 8:19 and I'm happy to take one last question if there are any. I don't see anyone else raising their hand. Oh, Mark. Hi, do you want to unmute?
Thanks. I'm gonna ask a question that was in the chat, which is about insurance cost. What's,
Yeah, well, if you're buying a new car, the insurance is going to be more than if you buy used. I think it's comparable.
yeah, okay.
Electric vehicles are, they're very safe. They score very well in the crash tests. And so that's a factor that insurance companies use. So in that respect, there's an advantage. If you buy a new car, though, I mean, you're always going to pay more insurance.
Right, to protect for the collision or, right, comprehensive. All right, that's fine. The more important question, you're gonna have to forgive me. I'm gonna say first that this advocacy that you're doing is so commendable. And someone mentioned that Newsom vetoed something. I mean,
Yeah.
what's going on there? Someone's got to get it through this next legislature. But
Yes.
I'm gonna ask you the question again about the federal tax credit. I think I heard you just say, I know I'm getting a refund because of a childcare dependent, I have a kid who's under 18. So I do get a refund already, but did I hear you say that the money they take out of my paycheck will add up to what they will look at for a refund?
So it's basically the total amount of taxes that you pay over the course of the year.
Mhm.
So if you don't pay very many taxes through your paycheck, well, let's see how to explain it. It's your tax liability. So if I owe $10,000 of taxes every year, but I've paid it out in my paycheck, I can still claim the tax credit, even if I'm not going to get a refund. I'm not getting any refund, but I've already paid $10,000 throughout the course of the year. I've paid that $10,000.
Mhm.
So I actually can claim the $7,500 and I will get a $7,500 rebate. So it's not kind of what you owe at the end of the year. It's your total tax liability that counts.
Okay. I will consult a person in this, one-on-one consult here and also talk to my accountant.
Always a good idea to talk to someone who's good with taxes, your tax accountant. Always a good idea.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Sure. So it's 8:22. So I just want to thank you all again for staying. And we will provide the follow-up email with all of that additional information, and feel free to reach out to me